Here's something saucy, sexy himbos, men, and masculinity.
Male beauty is very diverse. In 1970, Arnold Schwarzenegger starred in his first film featuring his hypermasculine physique, and David Bowie wore a dress on his third album cover by Mr. Fish, leader of the peacock fashion movement for men. In 1974, Muhammad Ali wore a Mr. Fish robe to the ring for his famous Rumble in the Jungle. The surge of testosterone at puberty causes changes to the masculine facial morphology, including larger brow bones and jawlines. Attraction to male faces has been widely researched, with conclusions still evolving. One study discovered that women found less masculine faces attractive for long-term relationships and more masculine preferences for short-term ones. Another study showed masculine faces were preferred by women in countries with poor health care and less masculine in countries with better health care. In Korea, men reduced their masculine square jaws to a desired V shape. Men in the West, straight and gay, generally find masculine facial features attractive. This is exaggerated in hypermasculine action heroes. Perhaps it's human nature to idealize. Yet both hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity create fantasies of control that are 99% unobtainable. Let's do our own research. I've added categories to my attempt at a spectrum line of attractive male faces. At one end is hypermasculinity, and at the other end, pretty boys. Let us know below which you find most attractive and why.
Hello and good evening, everyone out in the world. This is the lovely and beautiful, glamorous pariah and space captain herself, Miss Kyoko Cane of the Daystar Voyage. In this social platform where we talk about from entertainment media and pop culture topics affecting our livelihood. That goes from the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, and the flaws within it. And also the animation topics, whatever's been on my mind, from rants, essays, on those various things around animation, Japanimation, anime, etc. and such. Just want to let you know, thank you so much for getting me to so many subscribers and views, and I hope everyone out there make sure to store that golden thumb that you call your green thumb and let it bloom into the like button down below. Just click on it down below and subscribe. And yes, even though I sound nervous, I just want to put all my pretty much thoughts and opinions and statements out there for anyone else who wants to just share. Anything I didn't address, we could just comment down below on the comment section so we can be able to unlock the topic with a key and come sip some tea with me on the topics of masculinity. Yes. And you know, this is all for the men out there. Happy Father's Day for everyone out there who's just struggling or either just trying to find a people or a family to support. Men presenting or male presenting people out there, etc. Also the LGBT, etc. or the straight allies or the gays out there, the gay friendly channel for anyone out there who's wondering. But yes, for all the men presenting people out there, this is about the topic of the state of masculinity that we need to discuss about, because there's so much I feel that we're not getting as such from traditional values, and I feel like masculinity is something that should be put down a lot more 24/7, which is being taught today, and that's going to have a negative impact towards the male audiences, be it from fans to everyday life and our livelihood as such, which we talk about on here. I feel like it's being treated in the most badly way, such as being a bad influence or just immoral or just in a negative light as such, because back in the day throughout the 80s and 90s, you had so many superheroes that you could look up to that showcase so much masculine traits and heroic traits due to their heroism or their safetyness towards the audiences, and also people that we look up to, be it from fiction and non-fiction writing, and also from pop culture, magazines, comic books, manga, anime, etc. and pop culture, which I do feel like we get a lot more of anime and manga characters that are male who presented as such as good, great male figures. However, I'm going to get down to the deeper topics about pretty much the vulnerable, in-depth moments of men too also, and that goes for comic book characters and also non-fiction and fiction characters too also. And I feel like when masculinity is taught to be immoral and villainous or just evil or just downright something that should be push under the rug and not to be taught to any other young man or kid or boy or man coming of age. And I do feel like that's going to be a lot more of a detriment in the future. And this coming from a queen myself too, who also loves men in general, and I want to see them grow into really great men for the future that leads the way towards the generation, be it from pop culture media or family entertainment, and also gaining influence from our favorite superheroes of yesteryear and years ago throughout. And why I say this is because I feel like if we don't study about like masculine traits, it's gonna lead down to most toxic ways in men in general, and like the most unhealthy ways. And so that's what it's being taught to nowadays, that masculinity is something that should be not like talked about in today's world, being for like our favorite heroes, just like I said, and just like being able to not like talk about the most utmost ways how they can hate other people, be it from like loving oneself or loving other people, loving a woman or a man or anyone else that you want to fall in love with or just grow as a person in a relationship or in marriage as such. And even though as a queen myself, I do want to see myself as like a feminine person who wants to love a masculine man as such, and having those great traits that we should be able to learn on an everyday basis. But I do feel like with today's progressive world of LGBT etc stuff, we're not going to get like much more in-depth characters, be it from like fiction or non-fiction, just like I said, characters throughout, and that needs to be taken accountable for and look with the magnifying glass of what our society has come to. And so, having that being said, we're going to get down to our first segment of the video. Now that we got the intro pretty much pushed out of the way, we're going to get down to basically the heroes and sex appeal, how it could be empowering towards men, and how they can use it to our everyday lives, and also demonstrate masculinity and the negativities, how it can shape other people. So yes, here we go. Let's blast off on the Daystar Voyage with your Space Lieutenant and Captain Kyoko Cane. Woo! I feel like in this day and age, like when today, like back in my day growing up, I do feel like I've seen a lot of great like people who admire so many heroes from like comic books to like pop culture media and entertainment media that we saw back in the days, be it from like the 80s and the 90s, superheroes of the yesteryear and years ago. It doesn't feel like throughout this time like you get to be able to see like whether it be from Batman to Green Lantern to the Flash to freaking dang so many characters that you see in our everyday basis that you can just like see yourself as such. And I do feel like that's a lot with like dealing with like people who are superhuman and superheroes of trying to like, live yourself to a higher standard of just like trying to be yourself as such and be so heroic in your own right that you can gain such like a good influence of like such characters that you could just like not talked about in today's world, being for like our favorite heroes, just like I said, and just like being able to not like talk about the most utmost ways how they can hate other people, be it from like loving oneself or loving other people, loving a woman or a man or anyone else that you want to fall in love with or just grow as a person in a relationship or in marriage as such. We need to be able to just like get like the back in track, and this is coming from a person of the LGBT etc. Because I'm saying this, we're in this time and era where like everything is just so laced with like gay content and progressing to 24/7 that we got to see that we forget to see like some of the old stuff throughout like the yesteryears and years ago that pretty much paved the way as such. Yes, I do understand we need more LGBT etc content in today's world. However, it's become so shoehorned and detrimental to the point where like people can't be able to see like the good writing or the good messaging towards like our today's stuff that we're watching nowadays, be it from TV to television, like I said, entertainment media as such. And it's going to be becoming so detrimental that how the heck are we going to see like the best heroes that we're seeing right now in Marvel series of today and also DC Comics, but we're not seeing like the most traditional moral values in like men. And let me tell you now, even though I don't want to say this, but there were like white men that pretty much paved the way as such from like back in the days of the 70s and 80s. We haven't seen so many like great like POC characters in like the days of yesteryear and years ago that pretty much paved the way. Because let me tell you, to be honest, white men have pretty much been the staple point of how we pretty much see ourselves as such throughout the yesteryears as such. Take for example from Superman to Batman to freaking dang Green Lantern, like I said from before. And yes, we do have a lot of POC characters that pretty much made a staple point years ago. Afterwards, like the Black Lantern or Jon Stewart's Green Lantern as such too, along with like freaking dang Black Lightning too and Static Shock throughout the 90s and the 80s too. Which thankfully we get to see so many great masculine traits towards like those characters, and those are the great characters that we should be able to see. Which at times some black heroes can be tokenized, but that's for another topic that we're seeing right about now. But due to like the progressiveness towards like I feel like the LGBT etc. Comic book lovers that we're not seeing it as such, and it's just being pushed under the rug nowadays. However, with positive like heroes, there comes positive great villains who are also men. And I feel like with how they're written nowadays, and also basically how they're portrayed, written, or either just like standing or just standing out from like other people, I do feel like it becomes lackluster in certain cases. I could discuss like a few. I have like many different opinions about the Owl House and how it portrays its men and its male characters. Say for example, Hunter and Gus and Bellows too. Also with Hunter, I do feel like with Hunter they pretty much try to make him like a little bit of a trauma puppy and also a emotional punching bag, and they didn't know how to write his character too, of being like a masculine character with traditional traits from like the back in the days or yesteryear. And also with Gus is another story, being a token, also being sidelined in many aspects of the show too. Also with Bellows being like undermined towards like this glorious like grandeur character with like so much mystery and complexity, however just being pushed under the rug and also being just one track minded and just being ill desired writing and badly written to a certain extent. But that's my opinion on the show too. Now this is gonna get back to the track of like pretty much the heroes of like the masculine traits who portrayed it too also. As you can see from like my thumbnail that I did on the video, I do feel like we need to get back to like the point where like anime is one. For example, I feel like did a really great job of shonen characters. I'm gonna get to like shoujo and josei, which is also girls and women male characters. Shonen characters did a great job of portraying characters, like I said, because it sells a lot more because of how pretty much people see themselves as the white favorite or white characters that want to be able to just vibrate towards Goku or just Satoru or Yuji for that matter, or just like I think that other dude with like the blue shirt, Nanami, I think, who want to be themselves as the dominant male character to be much more curvaceous and promiscuous as such, and more action-packed. Which we have come a long way with like shonen anime characters being a lot more better than like Western characters nowadays, which is really great. However, we have a lot more digging up to with like the anime manga topics of shoujo and josei male characters. Which is like I feel like another topic for like the whole anime segment coming soon that I have planned out, because I really want to get dig into that too also on a distant planet that I have called Planet Shoujo and Josei for women and female characters that we swoon for and look up to. I feel that's going to be a little bit more sexy and promiscuous. As for the villains, I do feel like with the villains they do carry themselves with like a suave, promiscuous way and like using to like take advantage from other people and also doing like no do good stuff. Honestly, I'm so lost for words because there's so many I could like list to, and I haven't come up with a script though, but I'm gonna try to get as much as possible as I can because I have work tomorrow. But yeah, we can discuss on the comment section down below, but make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Now as for men as villains, I do feel like in a way they kind of like depict as men as being like much more too masculinized to the point where like they might be villainized or just something that to be badly influenced on kids. But I do feel like with masculinity, it comes in like so many colors and shapes and sizes, and also in like depth if taken care of. If getting the proper writing tools and also looking to in-depth characters, just like I said with like the Owl House characters and the boys too, how they're presented too as such. Because the fan fiction have done a great job of fleshing out the characters too. Which I feel like I'm gonna have a topic about discussing about another topic about masculinity and also heroes, villains, etc. We tend to that golden green thumb you call a like button, which grows my channel a lot more like a garden rose, because I am the whole garden. See what I did there? Because there's so much that we could get in depth towards like the characters of masculine traits and, you know, pure beautiful masculinity, be it from good and bad. And now in this next segment we're going to get down to like the evil traits of masculinity. Now I do feel like when it comes down to like just men being like gay and also staying in a place where they don't feel welcome, if you don't observe like such masculine traits just to hide behind like society on like behind the mask, I do feel like with the mask, like with superheroes wear nowadays to conceal their identity, but like take it from like a non-fiction standpoint or just like non-superhero standpoint, you have to use your mask to conceal your whole identity of who you truly are, feeling like you won't be able to live up to like heroic standpoints or a certain masculine standpoint in today's society. But with superheroes or supervillains, I feel like they're being molded into like a certain way, like in the yesteryears from what I read comic books from like back in the 80s and the 90s and watching TV. I do feel like they had to conceal their identities behind a mask or just like their own alias to be able to just like not live up to a certain standpoint in life or just upbringing to be able to uplift to like citizens a whole or save people or do villainous acts. And it's not me just being like pretentious or corny, just sounding it out, because even though I'm just kind of like slamming on my words, I just feel like with like non-fictional characters, they had to like live in like this the most highest standpoint of just like being like this golden retriever of just like saving the world from a hero, or just like being like emotionally inept to the point where like they might do some troublesome sociopathic really bad things towards people if like they're like a villain, and that may like stare to the point of like if that taken care of or like, having much more emotional depth within like the story of men taken care of. I do feel like for example like Mr. Incredible as such. With Mr. Incredible, you get to see like so many characters, such of his traits and his flaws being explored throughout the whole film. The first Miss Incredibles. I do feel like with him, he had gone through so many roller coasters. It's just like having to be able to just live his heroic life out in the open, looking fine as hell because he is so daddy. And this goes for every last superhero that I grew up with. And to be honest, like with Mr. Incredible's standpoint, I do feel like Mr. Incredible, he's just like this person that you just to be able to look up to, being like this person that he just wants to help, just do good, and that's just pretty was cut short because he's just being so messy to like having to be able to just like be able to just like receive all the damages that he has done throughout the whole city that he also saves heroes from, and also citizens and victims of crimes, civilian duties and also superhero duties. That's one standpoint to as such, and also along with Batman having his family killed to a certain degree, and also making his own family with like Nightwing, with Dick Grayson, Barbara Goodson, and Tim Drake, and Jason Todd, and also the rest of the villains, heroes, etc. too. Also great standpoints. And also this comes from like anime, also for gay agendas. Also Haikyuu, even though this ship depicts like a perfect traits of masculinity and depth. Another comic book, I'm gonna show you this AMV right now, of so many traits of like how pretty much Kageyama and also Hinata see themselves as a couple as such, if taken any further, or as the show was written like a romance aspect of it all, and also as gay people pretty much didn't see themselves as society standpoints, if that being outed or on a down low or not straight at all. And it just shows to show you that these two characters have a healthy standpoint of supporting each other as such through thick and thin. And I feel like with a lot of days now, most men or boys don't even have like a great influencer or father figure or even like a heroic figure in media themselves as such in society. And even though it's like great to have a clear mind, open-minded towards like, any type of like person that you look up to, or trying to be able to figure yourself out in the world, which to let men be men and also boys be boys, and let kids be kids, and not be able to have like any type of hidden agenda or ideology change that otherwise, because that's going to come to like detrimental effects, be it from entertainment media or pop culture, or trying to be able to figure ourselves out no matter what. And we need to start being capable of just having much more men being much more emotional and depth, and also having much more depth in like storytelling and writing in general. Some are good, some I hate, some I love, to be honest. And I'm not trying to show any visceral towards like creators and such, because we need some great representation too. And I'm gonna get down to the black topic too as such. And as you see from the many AMVs that I showcased throughout the whole show, I do hope that we can be able to have a common ground or middle ground to discuss like the many topics. And after this, we're going to get down to the many topics about how pretty with men, I do feel like we need to be able to have a strong male figure that we can all look up to. And I hope that we can discuss down below on the comment section, because it's all open, and you make sure to just like glow that golden like button down below, like my green thumb that I'm growing in my rose garden, to make it bloom to like 200 or at least 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to try to end up with, I hope so, or 200 would that matter. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you can get the message that we need much more powerful, sexy, beautiful, himbo like men in media nowadays. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening and a happy Father's Day for all the fathers and men out there who are going to be fathers, who are men in general coming up soon, who are open family. Thank you so much. This is Kyoko Cane signing out of the Daystar Voyage. Peace out.
Young boys are turning conservative. We need you to influence them. Straight, white, left-leaning millennial man.
I thought I was supposed to take a back seat so that more marginalized voices could be heard.
Okay, yeah. What do you want?
I want immunity. I want to say things are gay and retarded, and I want to make jokes, and if I make a joke, I want you to think about what the joke actually means instead of getting scared of the words.
Okay, you got a deal.
I'm not finished. I want you to stop using the word mansplain and stop comparing men to bears.
Anything else?
Louis C.K. He's my favorite, and he has good things to say. What's that sound? Is that the Department of Education being defunded?
Okay, people can like what they want to like, and we'll stop using our perceived moral superiority to be cruel to others.
Cool.
What are you doing out here anyway?
I was just pretending to chop wood.